Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the League Two Lowdown. This is, of course, the review show from the games that took place on Saturday, the 7th of February, including the one that also took place on Thursday as well. My name is Jordan Richards. I am back once again to discuss all the action from England's 4th Division. I am joined this week by Keiron Jones. We've just made... Speaking before we're recording this, I mean, we've pretty much did a bit of half an hour summary of the game, but basically what we just concluded on, and we'll probably touch on it at the end. Touching on it in the end, it'll be exactly repeated as it was. That the game yesterday between Newport and Grimsby was utter tripe, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was really bad. I think the best way to summarise it is it did not look like playoff chasing against relegation rivals. It looked like two teams mid-table at the end of the season. Really, really bad, but it's a point, I guess. Sure.
You've got that summary anyway. I don't really want to talk anymore on it. So we probably won't, although we probably will. Let's be honest, because that's just what all we're about. So I think we're just going to jump straight into it. Of course, like and follow on YouTube as well, download podcasts, Spotify, and all that sort of jazz. I think we should just get straight into it now. Cambridge, I think we've had a lot of praise. I've certainly given them their plaudits over the last few weeks, and rightly so. Unbeaten in 14 games. They had 6 straight wins going into yesterday's game at Harrogate. And Harrogate, as I was saying the other day, I think just on the floor at the minute, struggling for points. Hadn't won a game for over 4 months. Struggling to score goals at home, and it looked like a real worrying period for them. But this is League Two anyway, isn't it? And the most League Two result happened yesterday. Harrogate Town 2, Cambridge United 1. Absolutely fantastic win for Harrogate. A much needed 3 points, and I think it'll probably come as some sort of relief as well against this Cambridge side, who, let's be honest, I thought were looking a little bit unstoppable recently. All the goals were scored in the first half. Bryn Morris and Emerson Sutton on the score sheet for Harrogate, giving them a 2-goal lead. Liam Bennett did pull one back, but it was only to be a consolation. Now, I think probably you're looking at this, I think they needed that win, didn't they, Harrogate? I think the longer it went on, I think the longer and the more questions were going to be asked about their chances of staying in the league. I think that'll come as a huge relief, beating a good team as well. But I think the question is now, can they go and do it again? They've got another difficult task away at Chesterfield. But the game after that, I mean, they've got Barrow. So, I mean, they've got a couple of interesting games coming up, but I think it was important for them to get that result. And obviously, they're now moved up to 21 points, joint with Newport in 23rd. I'll leave you to discuss about this one, Keiron, being the League Two specialist, League Two relegation specialist, I should say.
Yeah, let's be very specific on that one.
League Two specialist.
I'll take League Two specialist if you want to give me that title. But when was their last win?
You'll be non-league specialist.
Well, yeah, let's not comment about that yet. But you've got to go back to something like the 27th of September for their last league win. You're talking very, very far back. Just having a look at it while you were discussing it. The last one that I can see, I don't think I've missed any either. 27th of September, away to Gillingham was their last League Two win. Been absolutely atrocious since then, haven't they? Let's be fair. And like you mentioned, it was a situation of, were they going to pick anything up? Because it looked utter dross for months, let's be fair. But does it stop the rot? No, not necessarily. I think the biggest thing that I look at when it comes to Harrogate and the League Two relegation battle, if you want to call it that, you're talking Newport, Shrewsbury, Barrow, Crawley. I think those are the teams you're really talking about at the minute. Maybe even Bristol Rovers. They've played less games than Harrogate. Harrogate have 31 under their belt, Newport 29, Shrewsbury 29, etc. So it's not exactly stop the rot. It very well could. Again, Cambridge are a really good side. They were on a really good run of form. It's a very League Two result to happen. But yeah, I wouldn't say that it's going to be the thing that fixes their season. They have a massive turnaround because, again, you have went months without a win. They need to actually build on it now. But you couldn't have much of a better result, could you, than winning a game at home against a side that are realistically in a position to go for the top three. But no, very, very much still in the thick of the relegation battle. But still, it's a good win. But more importantly, now more than ever, especially with all the games that have been played for them in comparison to a few of the other teams around that area of the table, they need to build on it now. And
Absolutely. Yeah,
be very
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. Just because of that, it's just building on that. But I think it's just a case of they've got the monkey off their back now. They know they can, if they can get a few more results like that. Not probably necessarily against teams like that, but if they could just get a few more, make things interesting. I mean, their next few look relatively difficult, but there's a couple in there in which they could probably look at. I mean, the Barrow game, the Cheltenham game, Tranmere, even Oldham probably to some extent. There's a couple wedged in between there in which you're probably looking at it and thinking if they can get some points out of those games. I mean, not even just necessarily from the bigger teams in the league, but if I can get some, those are the ones I think you're probably going to look at really. For those will be the games that will be the difference between staying up and going down. Cambridge, on the other hand, it's a bit different for them, isn't it? I mean, they're obviously down to 5th now. I mean, they're still very much in this picture, 2 points off the top 3. I guess the big question for them now, obviously because they've gone on this long unbeaten run, they've fallen to a defeat. It's probably how they respond. I think this is a bit of a different task for what they've got to do next. I mean, looking at their next 2 games, Crawley and Bristol Rovers. I know Bristol Rovers have had a little bit of a resurgence of late. I mean, they did lose yesterday, but they've had a little bit. But they've got Crawley next. Same with them. I think they've had a little bit of a resurgence again, but losing yesterday. But they'll be certainly going into those 2 games as favourites. But it's how they bounce back from this now, I think, will be the true test of character, whether they'll be challenging or not.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you pretty much summed it up perfectly when you started talking about it. It is the most League Two thing to happen. They've picked up some really, really impressive wins as of recent. I mean, obviously, when you win however many games in a row that they did win, for them to lose against Harrogate, let's be fair, they've got some good games now to respond from it. But in the same way that a win for a team that can't buy a win can potentially pick them up. We've seen teams before, they've lost one game and then they proceed to go on a very terrible run. But I'll be honest with you, I think they'll be all right when it comes to being able to bounce back. I think Crawley is a really good opportunity for them to do so. And even Bristol, to an extent, they're not exactly terrible in terms of recent form, but they're beatable, let's be fair.
Bromley win again. What was wet?
Yep.
And they're all right. They're all right, aren't they?
Yeah,
going to Fleetwood winning 2-1.
Nah,
they're not too bad. Going to Fleetwood winning 2-1 in the last minute, coming back from 1-0 down in the game as well. Showing their character, and a team that just knows how to win games. And I've said it all along. I mean, this team they know how to play football. They know how to win games, and that's why they're going to go up. I'm saying it now.
They're perfectly suited to League Two. This is. I hate bringing up the predictions again. I'll bring them up again. I remember vividly saying that team suits League Two, and they only needed those few extra little bits, especially creatively, to feed into Michael Cheek. And let's be fair, they have. They've now got multiple forms of outlets. Their football fits League Two perfectly. And let's be fair, there's a reason that they're 5 points clear at the top, and you're talking to 8 points clear of 4th. There's a reason. You know, they've had a couple of slip-ups recently, not even with losses, just a couple of draws, but they bounce back on them really well. And to come back from being down, it does show that they're a side that is suited to being top of the tree. And like you said, probably going up, let's be fair. Unless they have a monumental fall-off, like a certain club that we'll talk about very soon.
I just can't see that happening with these, though. Unbeaten in 12. I've won 10 of them. So that's not an accident.
Silly good run.
That's not an accident. But looking at it, I think Fleetwood might be a little bit aggrieved they didn't get more from that. I think they'll be frustrated with the goal at the end. It looked like at times they did play relatively well in the game, but obviously that goal at the end, that goal in the end has somewhat killed him. And I was quite interested to see Michael Cheek's reaction after the winner as well. Just goes up to the Fleetwood man, just sort of pushes him over a little bit. Luke was on about violent conduct. It probably might be, but I think it's absolutely so. There's not much in it. It's just a little bit of a topsy-turvy. That's not even a word, but a little bit of stuff. But I think for Fleetwood, I think there's better signs there. I think there have been better signs these last few weeks. But yeah, I mean, losing right at the end with the goal they have done as well, I think is one they'll be bitterly disappointed with.
It must be so frustrating when you look at Fleetwood and you look at their past 5, because yes, they've picked up 1 win and lost 4 in their last 5, but it's not been more than a 1-goal deficit. Like they're very similar to when we talked about the likes of Colchester last season. They're very close to kind of ticking over to being a really competent side and one that can push for that top 7. But let's be fair, you need to be switched on the entire game, and they weren't, evidently, when they played Bromley, and they capitalised on it. But I've given enough credit to Bromley. It must be frustrating for Fleetwood, though, because change a few things around about their recent games, because performances haven't been that bad, and they're looking a lot better than 15th.
A team that performances have been bad for might be a certain Walsall. And results, if we're going to look at it that way, 3-1 defeat at home to Barnet yesterday. And I think looking at it, if Barnet scored a couple more goals and won that by about 4 or 5, I don't think you really could have had any complaints, really. 75% possession, 15 shots to Walsall's at 8. And even the goal that Walsall scored has come from a bit of a goalie mistake. Look, let's give Barnet their due first. I mean, look, another victory for them. Shamanga was another one on the score sheet for them, and I think they're going to run really close to the playoffs. I've always liked Barnet. I think the way they play, they like to play football the right way. Just the 1 defeat in their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Just the 1 defeat in their last 9 games, and that was away at Grimsby, where circumstances played its part with a red card in that one. But I've been really impressed with them since they've come up. And to be fair, I think judging from the start predictions or start the season with the predictions, I'm not surprised to see them in the position that they're in. I think they're a really strong team. Dean Brennan plays some lovely football, and how his teams do. And it will not shock me if they make top 7 this season. Absolutely no way.
Yeah, I think the only thing that really could hinder that is injuries. We know how Dee Brennan plays his football. It's very high energy. It's very up in your face kind of thing. Obviously, a couple of injuries and fatigue and all that stuff will knock that down a bit. But at the minute they're spot on, aren't they? And there's nothing really to complain about from a Barnet perspective. Remind me a lot of God, I'm going to mention Bromley again, aren't I? They remind me a lot of Bromley last season when they came up. Just very, very stable, but they fell short potentially due to fixture congestion. If you remember the interview we did with Andy Woodman and what he mentioned during that. But Walsall are doing it again, aren't they? I didn't think that they could manage to do it twice in a row, but they're doing it. Not in a good way. Not at all.
No.
Same circumstances as well, which is crazy. I feel like we're talking last season here. I'm getting very much deja vu.
The similarities I'm seeing in those 2 seasons already is unbelievable.
It's that first or second half again.
But unlike last season when they were pretty much in the top 3, pretty much all of it, until obviously that run happened and they missed out on the top 3 at the end. We're talking about playoffs this time because that spot is just not a given, and the way they're going, you cannot tell me they will make the playoffs the way they're going. I'm not surprised to see that pretty much most of the Walsall fan base have turned on Mat Sadler now. After yesterday, the amount of comments that I've seen on their end. Look, I've said pretty much all I've been quite critical of Walsall over these past couple of weeks, but for it looking like to happen again 2 years in a row is not an accident. There's something deeply wrong. There's something deeply wrong in there, and I think if I was a Walsall fan, I'd totally agree. I think now is the right time to change the manager. Whether they'll do it or not, I don't know. And I pointed this out the other day. Their next league game, they don't play next week. Their next league game will be against Grimsby, in in about 10 days from today. We're coming on Sunday. About 10 days from today, because we're playing on Wednesday night. They've got the perfect opportunity now to pull the plug and do something now. Because I think if they keep sticking with it, it's just going to go one way. It's just how defensively naive they look at times. Like, I've known a Mat Sadler side to be well organised, well set up, and the way they've gone recently, I just don't see that. I really just don't see that. And when they've not really been that threatening up on the other end, I mean, they pretty much. I hate look. We all gave them their praises when they're winning games. It's bearable then. Like, when you win games, you can accept it a little bit no more. But with that style, I don't know how you're not coming out of the game. Well, you probably are. You're half asleep, really, because I sit everyone behind the ball, and when they do have it, they just tend to go long every time. I don't get it, and
very one-dimensional.
It's very one-dimensional, and I just don't really quite. Yeah, I think massive pressures on him now. Like I said countless times, I think he was quite lucky to keep his job last season. I really do. And going into this year, truth be told, I didn't really know what to expect from Walsall. I didn't think they'd be anywhere near as good as this. And obviously, they started the season really well again. I mean, the first half, they were pretty much in and around the top three again. But they can't keep dropping off where it matters most. And there's a genuine worry now where other teams are that they're more prepared than what they are. And if they are going to make the playoffs, they probably have to get rid of Sadler now.
The reality is, when it comes to Walsall, we saw it last season. They were very one-dimensional off of Nathan Lowe. They lost that asset, entirely fell off. Yes, it's not just one player, but they never have a plan B, and it's very much transpired again into this season. But that one-dimensional plan has not changed in 2 seasons. To be honest with you, how it's worked at the start of this year, I'll never know, to be brutally honest. Because they're playing exactly the same way. There's no plan B. And at the end of the day, that's a coaching issue, because the players there on paper are more than capable enough to finish in that top 3. So
agreed.
That there's no excuse for me as to why he shouldn't be under pressure. Because again, if you can't adapt during games and you're relying on sitting behind the ball and basically hitting them on the counter with a long ball, it's going to get found out, and it's been found out. And if anything, it's been found out earlier than it was last season. There should be a lot of pressure on him. And like you said, there's a perfect opportunity and window now for Walsall to really evaluate whether Mat Sadler should keep his job or not.
I think the next few days, in terms of the ownership of the club as well, are probably massive on that standpoint as well. But personally, because they're playing Grimsby next, I hope he stays until that game, and they can do whatever then. But I just don't see how they salvage this at the minute, because, like I said, they're very one-dimensional. Teams have figured them out. They know how to play, know exactly how to counter it, and it's not a nice place to be at the minute. Really.
They are that football triangle image that you always see going around Twitter. Then Walsall get your hopes up, they let you down, you start believing again. It's happened now, 2 years on the bounce. It's really impressive.
It is, if you look at it from that standpoint. But yeah, it can't be understated. It's a huge win for Barnet, and what the point behind them now? I think they are.
We're looking 3 points behind them. Even then, it's not much, is it?
No, it's not.
If you want to factor in goal difference as being an extra point, then it all depends. But they're not in a position like they were last season, where they had that much of a gap on the top on the top 2 and 3. Never mind the top 7. They don't have that luxury this season, so something needs to be changed, or it'll be a mid-table season.
Yeah, let's move on. I've discussed about Walsall to death over the last.
We love Walsall. We love talking about them.
We do. They're a good club. Although when they come to Blundell Park, they normally batter us. Judging by the last few years, what was it? Last couple of visits, they've beaten us 6-1 and 4-1. So I'd like to think that won't happen.
Maybe 2-1 this time. You reduce it by 2 goals. Maybe you win 1-0 next year when neither of you go up again.
Yeah, well, we're both in League 2 again.
Exactly.
probably still do well, and Walsall it'll happen again next year because
it can't happen 3 times in a row, surely.
It's bad enough. It's bad enough it's happening twice.
It was bad enough that it happened once, for God's sake. Twice as mental.
We love you, really, Walsall. Right, let's move on. Cheltenham 2, MK Dons 3. Another big win on the road for MK Dons. I mean, probably expected with the squad they've got compared to Cheltenham. It's pretty much the same thing every week. MK Dons squad is ridiculous. They should be beating teams pretty much.
Yeah.
Believe in teams that are random, they should be beating them. I mean, Curtis Nelson, Callum Patterson scoring again. I probably agree, but I think, was it Luke or Harry that brought up the point that he's League Two's best player at the minute? And to be fair, I'm finding it harder to disagree.
It's League Two's best squad on paper, but the fact you're naming these players and we're talking about the 4th division is taking a mick, to be honest with you.
I mean, you should have heard me in summarising their January transfer window the other day. What did I say? I think it was stupid. I mean, he only bought 4 players in, but I mean,
those 4 players should not be playing in League Two.
They should not be. I mean, look, Marvin Ekpateta also scored again, but I think the one thing I wanted to question on was, I mean, it's all good winning these games for MK Dons, but I think I've noticed within the last month or so, not so much at times, but there has been a couple of games, with the amount of goals that MK Dons are shipping a little bit. 2 shipped yesterday, 2 shipped at Grimsby, which was they'll probably look at it as 2 points dropped in the end with that one. I mean, they blew it against Chesterfield, didn't they? It's just a couple of instances there I felt in which maybe at times I do look a little bit easy to play through. But look, they're winning games and they're getting points of it. So it might not be much of an issue as it is because they've got so much quality in the squad. I should probably mention as well Jake Bickerstaff and Isaac Hutchinson. Of course, Isaac Hutchinson scoring again. But look, it's 3 points on the road, and look, they're still they're still 4th. I mean, they're a point behind the top 3, and they're a fair bit away from Bromley now. I mean, I saw Luke's post on Twitter the other day, reckons that they can still win the league. I mean, it's still possible, I guess, but I think there's a lot of ground to make up between them and Bromley already at the minute. And I mean, it depends maybe if we see the first cracks of Bromley slipping up, but I just don't see that at the minute. But I think probably the best they hope for is probably top 3, really. And even then, it's still relatively tight even. But I mean, it's 3 points on the board against a side in Cheltenham who, they've lost 4 league games in a row now, and 6 defeats from their last 7 for them. Yes, it was always going to be a difficult game, this one, and they're still relatively clear as it is. I mean, they're still 9 points clear of safety, but I mean, this run is still not a great look, really.
Yeah, obviously they had that good run when Cartwright came in. They kind of pulled away from it, but those old cracks of potentially the squad not being entirely up to speed, they're showing again, aren't they? Now, I don't think they'll drop back into that relegation picture, to be honest with you. And that's probably not so much credit to Cheltenham. That's more just talking about the bottom 5 of this division and how poor each of them are in their own kind of ways. But yes, it's not a great thing to build on, is it? You thought when he came in, they were winning games. You probably want to build on that, not go back to old ways of losing 4 in a row. But that being said, 2 goals against MK isn't terrible, I suppose. But at the same time, when you're playing against probably the best frontline League Two seed in a good while, you're going to ship goals, aren't you? You've kind of got to compensate, and yeah, it's not terrible. A lot of teams will go to MK and they will be battered. So I suppose there's positive signs to show off of that, but they just want to pick a few more up, don't they, to just drift away from it a bit.
Teams will go to MK and will get battered. Shall we see who they've got next?
No thanks.
Look, Newport County.
Shocking.
Look, I said to you yesterday, Newport have the opportunity to do the funniest thing, as they do quite generally, really.
We got Swindon next. That would be quite funny, wouldn't it?
Yeah. The games don't get easier for you lot.
Nope,
really.
Never do.
Other than, quite grim these next few lot. But look, let's get back to MK. Yeah, it is a win on the road. I mean, yeah, and just the way that I think Cheltenham gave up those goals as well, especially that Callum Patterson one, that dodgy pass back. See, I think that's the sort of moment that they're in at the minute where, I mean, that sort of mistake is happening. I mean, he's just there to panic.
I think that's the difference, isn't it, really, between a promotion chasing team and one towards the bottom. It's just those little mistakes, and in this game's case, it costed them.
Yeah, can't argue with that. Liam Kelly looked like he absolutely ran the show looking at it as well. Yeah, I totally agree. I think with your point on chat, I think you're back in to get a few more wins eventually, don't you? And I mean, their next three look pretty tough on paper as well. I mean, Barnet, Bromley, Salford, their next three, but they've got a run after that where they play Harrogate, Barrow, Fleetwood, Shrewsbury. So yeah, expect them to get a few points out of that, maybe. And
I think they're better. They're better than a lot of the teams around them. But playing against those top sides, it's quite hard to really get anything out of that. And yeah, it's not an absolute thrashing, so I don't think it's too bad from a Cheltenham perspective. Take out those individual errors, they're an all right side, to be fair. Maybe not a top 7 pushing side, but they're an okay mid-table side for this division, and they can build on that next season.
Bristol Rovers are a team just below them in 19, 3 points off them. I mean, it was 3 home games on the trot for them. Another 3-2 game, this one going in the way of Chesterfield. I think probably from Bristol Rovers, and they'll be quite frustrated. They're going 2-1 up. A couple of goals from Shaq Ford will certainly give him the world of confidence. But I think the way that they sort of gave it up, and I mean, there were some good goals scored in this game as well. I mean, I really like Tom Naylor's first, and then the one from James Berry as well. The finish from that cross there, and his celebration was even better. I mean, that's just a sign of a good team there. I mean, good characters. Good character was what Chesterfield had to show for that coming back from behind. I think probably from Bristol Rovers' end as well. They'll probably be disappointed in the defeat considering they were 2-1 up in the game. But I think it's another game in which they could take good confidence from, considering that they've won the last 2 games as well, and they're really starting to pick up a little bit of momentum now. I mean, they've got Cambridge next. That's the thing with Cambridge. I think they've got to be a little bit wary, but they are away from home in this one. They've got a couple of away trips now. But yeah, I was always under the impression that I think Bristol Rovers will do enough. That thought hasn't changed. If anything, I think it's growing bigger. Like I just don't think they'll be anywhere near it come the end of the season. But I think if you're looking at it from a Chesterfield, and it's certainly a big 3 points for them. They're 1 point from the playoffs now. 1 point behind Walsall. Obviously, they're in a little bit of free fall at the minute as well. But it's certainly a cracking win on the road for them in the end. They're certainly against a side that have won the last 2 and are starting to grow in confidence a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar to the Cheltenham MK game in a way. It's very similar. It's just quality is, kind of prevailed in the end. But no, I think, Bristol had that really terrible run at home. They picked up a few wins now. We won't talk about one of the games. But yeah, they're picking up points against the teams that are around them, and they're showing actual character against those sides that are up towards the top end of the table, which you can't say was the same even as recent as 3 months ago. You couldn't say that. So there's actual bits of character and grit in that team now. They'll be one of the teams that will pull away from that relegation battle. But Chesterfield, they kind of had their Cambridge losing to Harrogate moment a few weeks ago. Obviously, when they lost to Newport, they bounced back really well, and that's what you've got to do at the end of the day if you're wanting to push for promotion. You have a little slip up, you've got to immediately bounce back, and they've done that. Past 3 games, 2 wins and a draw. Can't complain with that by any stretch. But yeah, Bristol will pull away. Chesterfield look solid enough, not just in terms of players on the pitch, but the kind of way that they react to going behind and all that stuff. So there's an actual bit of character, something maybe Walsall could learn from.
They could
I'm
do.
going
But,
to be the one who says that. I'll be the one that takes all the stick on Twitter for that one.
and I'll probably mention as well, it was Walsall that actually showed a bit of character at Chesterfield the other week as well, coming back.
Isn't it really ironic? It is really ironic.
and that's what I'll bring up. That was actually a half decent point for Walsall in the end.
It was,
considering that. Less so for Chesterfield, but yeah, it's all relatively tight for my liking. Around that playoff spot.
Don't like it.
Yeah, just around everywhere. I mean, the relegation zone, a couple of teams that are quite near. I mean, the playoff chasing Paxwell. I mean, other than Walsall, I mean, the teams below them: Chesterfield won, Crewe won, Barnet won, Colchester won, Grimsby didn't.
You go all the way down to what 14th, right? Which is Gillingham, up to 7th. There's 8 points in it. That is what 7 teams between 7-8 points chasing one not even promotion spot, playoff spot. It's very close League 2 table, and there's part of me that is quite delighted that we're nowhere near it, but at the same time, there's part of me that is like, I'd rather be there than where we currently are.
I was going to say, you'd rather have that chaos than be fighting for your lives, trying to avoid the National League again. You'd rather have.
You know what? I'm fed up with trips to the same club every now and again. I don't mind if we go up or down. Just give me some new grounds. I'm bored. I'm bored now. We've been in this division 13 years. I'm bored.
I mean, you might very much get your wish heading into next season. I've heard Troro's nice.
Yeah, it's lovely, isn't it? Yeah, I've heard it's quite sunny there sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, Solihull. That's all right. Said no one.
I was about to say, who has ever said that ever?
Well,
can't wait for a trip to Gateshead. Well, that's if they don't go down.
I mean, Dorking are doing well. Yeah, I mean they're up there in the north, aren't they?
Yeah, which is
I'm looking at the table yesterday.
Let's not start talking about the National League North, because how Merthyr Town are in the National League North is so weird because they're very southern, but whatever.
The
way those leagues are made confuses me, but yeah, Chesterfield are all right, aren't they? Let's be fair.
Yeah, I don't really have much more to say on that.
Yeah, they're good.
I was sort of doing the predictions the other day. I think you clearly noticed when I tried predicting these games the other day, I was trying to hope that everyone else slips up, but it was actually also slipped up. So that's
the irony.
Gillingham. I moaned about Gillingham the other day. I mean, I've seen a lot of positivity on Harry Gunn's Twitter at the minute. I mean, they did win yesterday. They beat Tranmere, who have lost the last 6, and they've got like a bunch of injuries. But they've got this Kenyan player who has apparently taken social media by storm. Honestly, go and check it out if you haven't seen it already. It's incredible, the Kenyan following that Tranmere Rovers now have. What amuses me quite a lot, actually, was seeing some of those tweets. It was just a random post. I think it was one in which Charlie Whittaker was doing a presser. And you just see a bunch of comments saying, "We want to see a Barrow," and then in some of them you see the hashtag Palios out at the end of it. Like they've caught on very quickly.
They have to give them credit, yeah.
And I'm absolutely all for this. But the one question I'd ask: where was this for when Clark Ottawa signed? Because I mean, Abero I think he's at under 19 as capped for Kenyans under 19, whereas Clark Ottawa has 1 cap for the proper team. And we got absolutely nowhere, probably because I don't really care, and probably see him how he plays football at times. Probably good reason, really. I mean, he barely plays for us. But no, that was something I really wanted to bring up. As much as Tranmere have got faults, and they've got a lot of faults at the minute. I don't need to repeat what I said on Gillingham. You can go back and listen to the show in midweek to suggest that. But they obviously have to go on some sort of run to make the playoffs now. Yeah, I mean, they got another win yesterday against a side that have zero confidence. I just think they're on the floor just everywhere as a club at the minute. And I think there has been times in which I've questioned over the last couple of weeks. I think they're quite fortunate to be in the position that they're in, with how I think they have been poor at times. But 32 points. I mean, you'd expect him to survive. Consider it's just quite a lot saying that, but I mean, I say that like Tranmere haven't beaten us because they have, but yeah, let's be honest, they're going nowhere unless the takeover's done. Let's just put it that way. I quite like Tranmere as well. It's not me trying to badmouth them or anything, because I do genuinely like them as a football club, but there's only so long that this can keep happening before eventually they will drop. That's the only thing I've got with it, and circumstances have obviously played its part in this as well. But yeah, it's not. I just don't think as a club, it's probably not the best place to be at the minute.
No, I wouldn't imagine. Obviously, again, injuries don't help and all this other stuff. God, those medical staff are doing really well to get their wage, aren't they? To give them credit where it's due. But no, it's just poor, isn't it? I mean, I don't think there's anything else to kind of say when you're in regards to Tranmere. They don't really. It's not even like in these games they show too much when it comes to unfortunate to not pick anything up. Again, circumstances of injuries, but like you said, I think they're very fortunate to be 17th given their season as a whole, on and off the pitch. But yeah, it's only a matter of time before those teams are in the bottom 5, 6, 7 of the division are not as terrible as they have been for the past couple of seasons, and Tranmere will join them unless this takeover ends up happening. And I don't know what they're doing on the training ground, but they always get injured, so I think that needs to be assessed as well. Deary me, it's bad.
They brought in an emergency zone goalkeeper yesterday, because I know Luke McGee's been out for a long period, and I think it was Joe Murphy. Was it Joe Murphy? Let me have a quick look. I'm assuming he was the other one that got injured.
They just love an injury, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Probably worth mentioning about Connor Jennings as well, being out for a very long time with a nasty injury. Probably one of their only bright sparks. Particularly, but I guess we should probably. Gillingham did win. Ronan Hell scored a couple of goals. I think they bought him for big money. And there's probably arguments to be made that Gillingham love non-goal scoring strikers. I mean, there were 2 proper strikers finishes from him, I thought, yesterday. And I guess we'll have to sort of see on him as well. Maybe that he could be the influence that they need between now and the end of the season if they are going to make the playoffs. But I still think it's not impossible, but I certainly still think it's a big ask.
Yeah, again, I hate trying to assume what teams are going to do well and what teams aren't going to do. You know how this division works. They're within that pact that I was talking about earlier that is less than 10 points from playoffs. But they love being consistently inconsistent, don't they? 29 games played. It's almost really, really even. 10 wins, 11 draws, 8 losses. They turn a few of them draws into wins. They're looking a lot brighter. But who knows? Crewe up next, and can they build on it? Maybe. I mean, they're 2 very inconsistent sides, aren't they? So that'll be a fun one to watch. But I wouldn't entirely discredit Gillingham or disregard them for chasing that, for being able to chase the top 7. They're not a million miles off of clicking as per every other team in this division. But yeah, it's just, I can't help but just keep looking at Tranmere. How were they 17th? It is they are bad. Really bad.
They are. And like I said, I do generally feel sorry for them at times as well. And poor Jack Walton in the chat, even he's had enough, really.
He's had enough to where he used to get really annoyed. And at this point, he's just like, whatever.
He's just fully accepted it. Really.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I've kind of fully accepted it as well, but mine's over a span of about 24 months. So,
yeah,
football's fun. It's a great sport. I don't know why anyone complains about it myself.
That's the thing. You should have seen Grimsby Town Twitter the other night. You'd think we was in the bottom 2. Let's have a look at, the other games that took place. I'm going to run through these ones very quickly. Accrington beat Salford by a goal to 0. Cracking win for Accrington. I'll tell you what, I feel like we're underselling them a little bit at the minute.
3 wins on the bounce.
3 wins on the bounce, and what was it? Only one defeat in their last 8 games, winning 6 of them. You could probably argue it as well that pretty much, a lot of those teams, they've beaten Barrow, Harrogate in there, and they're beating Newport, Cheltenham. The teams around the bottom.
Who hasn't beaten Newport?
But you see, yeah, well, it was yesterday.
Grimsby
I guess
Town.
but we did beat you earlier in the season, if you want to put it that way.
Imagine my shock. Imagine my shock.
Even that took a last-minute goal.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you look at it this way. They picked up a point against Walsall. Probably disappointed to not pick up all three in the end, considering where Walsall are in it. Notts County at Meadow Lane they beat, which is a cracking result. Yes, they lost to MK. And now they're beating Salford. A very good. They just know what they're doing. They're just a very solid League Two team. They've got a plan A, but they've got a plan B. They can go along. They can play a little bit of football. Oliver Wright in goal for them the other night was outstanding. Had a very good game, and just probably one of those nights for Salford. It was a brilliant goal to win it as well, very early on from Alex Henderson, and Wednesday night against Accrington, who Grimsby have got, certainly looks a bigger game than probably what I expected a week ago, because they're only 2 points behind us. So you can't count them out yet either. That's the thing.
Which is weird, given where we when we were talking about Accrington, we were uncertain on obviously Doolan, we were uncertain on kind of the signings they had made, but it's like the season that they went up. They tend to know how this division works, and obviously we entirely underestimated them, and we haven't really given them their credit, but they are doing really well, and they're also one of the a billion teams in that picture that I've referenced about a billion times. That game between Grimsby and Accrington. If I wasn't in the lovely land of Swindon, I'd be keeping a very, very close eye on that one. There's weirdly a lot at stake for the sake of potentially falling behind the packs in comparison to going into it. And I'm entirely expecting a 0-0, to be brutally honest with you. I bet you're delighted to hear that.
It won't do any of us any favours.
No.
Really, at this point. But yeah, it's certainly...
They're a solid team, aren't they? They're nothing... They're nothing... They're not... they don't have like a clear identity of football, but their identity works. Like you said, they've got a plan A, B, C, something that Walsall can learn from.
They're your typical League Two side, and they do it pretty well. That's the credit I can give them, and we've given John Doolan his praises. He very much deserves those praises for them. It's going to be really difficult on Wednesday. Big game that. Other results: Crewe won 77th minute through a goal from Tommy O'Reilly. I saw a lot of displeasures from, if that's the word, a lot of arguments about the referee not being great in this one. Somewhat halts Crawley's 3-game run, in which they've picked up 7 points out of 9 available. But also it keeps Crewe very much in contention as well. Still fighting for that. 2 points off Walsall themselves, but I think, if they're winning games, that's fine. If they're picking up points, just the other thing I mentioned as well, Crewe have played a game more than pretty much all those sides. Yeah. But it'll mean, but like I said, it'll probably not be a point worth knowing if they continue to win games.
No, so this is what I was mentioning in regards to Harrogate. Obviously, playing more games than teams around you isn't ideal, but it doesn't really matter too much, does it? In hindsight, you just need to pick the points up. But yeah, Crewe aren't a million miles off it. Crawley play Cambridge now, which will be a very interesting game for both sides in terms of how they bounce back. It's an expected result, but it wasn't exactly the most thrilling game of football of all time, was it? And like you mentioned, a lot of referee comments.
Yeah, can't discount Crawley yet from this relegation battle yet. 5 points clear. Still very much in it. Whether they'll do it, we'll have to see. I think the last 3 games are certainly giving them something to think about whether that they can do it. Obviously, yes, it was the Crewe game was not the season, not going to decide on them, but it's just something to think about on that point. Swindon scored another 3 goals against Oldham. And the
Luke
fact
mentioned
that,
they weren't great, which is quite funny.
yeah, but I tell you what was great, Junior Hoylett's assist for Aaron Drinnen for the third.
Which is,
I
again,
mean,
such a weird signing for League Two. Such
yeah,
a
and
weird
he
signing.
pulled off, what was it, this Trevella cross, absolutely perfect straight to Aaron Drinnen, who has been incredible himself this season. I mean, I saw the lineup when it was announced, and it's just very attacking. It's just Swindon have got a very fun team, and I said it the other day. I mean, they've got quality in abundance, got a lot of young players as well, but they've got some really good seasonal pros as well. I mean, Callum
Very
Cavan,
very balanced squad, a very fun squad, and it's a reason
yeah.
they're towards the top three.
I
Callum
mean,
Kavanagh, he's an interesting player, isn't he? Maybe not good
he-
enough for League One, but League Two, he's a solid option to have.
he is, yeah. I mean, missing a penalty yesterday, probably not ideal in one of his first games. And ultimately, we've given Oldham their plaudits for being a very strong unit throughout the season. But ultimately, yes, it was probably a game. That's the third game in a row in which they've shipped 3 goals, which has just not been like them as well in their season.
And it's the third defeat in a row, which is
it's their third defeat in a row.
a lot of frees involved there.
And their season is very quickly faded, really. And it looks, I mean, it probably is going to be looking like it's going to be a mid-table finish, which, let's be honest, it was what I expected at the start of the season. But yeah, I mean, shipping 3 goals in the last 3 games. Granted, Swindon do like scoring goals, believe it or not. Yeah, they some of them is edging towards what I thought at the start, really. Colchester are back to winning ways, winning 2-0 against Shrewsbury, who are far from safe alone, really. That goal from Arthur Reed in particular was beautiful. Needed to get back on their high horse, really. I know they've had a lot of injuries themselves, I keep saying it, but back-to-back defeats to Grimsby and Crewe, 2 playoff chasing teams themselves. You sense it was the perfect opportunity to get back to winning ways, and they've certainly done just that. I mean, it's the first defeat for Gavin Cowan. I finally learned his name because of the past 2 podcasts. I was like, Gavin who? Like, certainly anonymous to.
Just been calling him Gav continuously.
Yeah. Gav, he might be King Gav if he keeps him up.
That was really bad. That was terrible.
Yeah, it wasn't really much of a joke, but it
didn't land well. Let's just put it that way.
They're still 2 points above the bottom 2. Really, I didn't think
which
they would
is
have got more.
Again, really, they've won 5 games all season, and they're still clear of the relegation places. But that being said, far from safe. I mean, the likes of Bristol are kind of pulling away. Crawley can very well pull away. There's not many teams they can jump, and all it takes is either Newport or Harrogate to just string a few results together, and they're very much in it.
I'll tell you a game to keep an eye on Tuesday night. Shrewsbury play Barrow.
Yeah,
huge
Barrow are on God knows how many game losing streak. I know they've lost their last 5 in League Two, but neither of those teams are looking too great. Let's be fair.
I don't think a point for either team does any good. Really.
No, it reminds me very much of that Harrogate Shrewsbury game. There won't be much in it.
No.
Whoever comes out the better side will be very relieved, and whichever one doesn't, there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of pressure going for them. Then advantage Newport.
You know, look, I mean, I was saying to you, I've seen way more from Newport in 2 games when we've played you than what I've seen from Shrewsbury in 3 games this season.
I mean, this is the thing. Performances need results at the end of the day.
That's it. Yeah, we could talk about performances, but it's about getting results, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't care if we have 10% of the ball. If we win at 1-0, I'd much rather that than 90% of the ball and losing. You know.
We were mentioning Barrow defeat at Notts County yesterday. We should probably give Notts County more credit. 6 wins in a row for them, and absolutely flying themselves at the minute. It was the what was it? A Scott Smith own goal and another one for Matt Dennis. Like, I really love the Matt Dennis, and obviously they've got Jatta as well. Charlie McCann did.
They're another fun team, aren't they? They're another really fun team to watch.
Yeah, and a bit like John Doolan, starting to eat our words a little bit on Martin Patterson, aren't we? He's actually.
I wouldn't say starting. I think we had.
Oh no, I think we've done that. I think we've done that quite a while back. I think starting is underselling.
Yeah, I just think we're looking a lot stupider the more the season progresses. Let's be fair about a lot of things, but
we'll look even more stupid if they go up. When there's a very big possibility at the minute.
There's a very, very big possibility. What's it? 3 points clear of MK at the minute, which isn't that big of a margin. Let's be fair, but it's some form of a gap. All it needs is MK to slip up against Newport when we absolutely batter them on Valentine's Day of all days. Cannot wait.
How romantic that is.
Love is in the air and Milton Keynes.
Yeah. I'll tell you what wasn't lovely. That game at Rodney Parade as well. We've left the best till last.
Best till last. What a terrible, terrible game. And that's the podcast over.
Yeah. Newport 0, Grimsby 0. It was a game that lacked any sort of quality and was probably summed up with both penalties, really.
Yeah.
I don't really have much to say. I think it probably was a case of tale of two halves. We had a lot of the first half without being ruthless. And I think Newport had the better of the second half, and like I said, those two
being ruthless.
Without being ruthless, yeah. And then obviously
exactly the same.
Those two penalties were, and then those two penalties. I mean, Opoku's was. I mean, I think Opoku's penalty was better than Vernham's, if I'm going to be honest. But it was probably still one of those in which
even then, I think if I'm sticking you in net, you're saving both of them.
I mean, I have played in goal. I have saved a couple of pens, but
there we are.
I always thought that penalty was quite comfortable for Jackson Smith as much as Charles Vernham's penalty was comfortable for Jordan Wright. But I was saying to you yesterday, and before we started recording, I think a point is probably fair. I don't think you can really. It was you said at halftime to me that this was the most 0-0 game going. Obviously, there were a couple of moments in that in which could have been different, but I think my frustration from being Grimsby is, we know about Jordan Wright from last season. I complained a little bit. It was probably what was right for us last season. He probably was right for us last season.
That was good.
But if we wanted to progress as a football club, we needed better. Watching him yesterday was exactly what I saw for us, really, with him being a bit nervy. I think a bit is underselling it. He did look quite nervy, and the fact that we, let's be honest, barely tested him, I think is hugely disappointing.
Yeah, I think you look at the point where obviously they're happier of the two teams given just overall circumstances. Like I said to you before we started, that game goes on for 10 more minutes in the first half. You pull away. That game goes on for 10 more minutes in the second half. We probably pull away.
Yeah.
It was a game of two halves. Yet I think if you're looking at it from a Grimsby perspective, I've said this many a time, not just on podcasts, but just on social media throughout the season. The second we concede, we tend to kind of lose a lot of identity, and we're very prone to conceding again very shortly after. Take the Accrington game, for example. When we played them, conceding in the first 2 minutes, and that was kind of we knew we were going to lose after that. You just, for the quality and momentum of, I suppose, of both teams, you didn't take that. You didn't have that ruthlessness. And I said this to you, and I still find this very funny. Despite all that domination in the first half, I think you had 2 or 3 shots at Jordan Wright, one of them being that penalty, which I'm hardly even going to call a penalty. But big pet peeve when it comes to League Two and just football in general. If you're going to take a penalty, please put your foot through it. That's all I ask. I don't care if it's saved. I just want your foot through it. Because at least then you've got the opportunity of a rebound, or something along the lines. I mean, Opoku's has kind of just very leisurely rolled out, and Jordan Wright's has done basically the same.
That's it.
I don't care about placement. Put your foot through it.
And that's the thing. I saw a lot of arguments about why Charles Vernam took the penalty for us. And really, when you dissect it, it does sort of make sense. He has scored his last 2 penalties in the league. But I think, you probably look at it at the same time. You've got Andy Cook right there, who's got 200 plus goals in the Football League and is still waiting to get off the mark in a Town shirt with a goal. His performances have been good, but in terms of a goal, I think it was the perfect opportunity. You just know he would have buried that, really. I know Jordan Wright has been... One thing you can't fault about Jordan Wright, he's very good at saving penalties. And he saved a couple for us. But I think if Cook was on that pen, it probably might have been a different story. But look, it's one of those if, buts and maybes and all that sort of stuff. But the point's probably fair. I can't really argue with it. Let's be honest. It's a game we're not going to remember, really. But we might remember for the wrong reasons. Maybe at the end of it. Maybe teams. That's the thing about it. I feel.
Yeah. This is what I said to you at full time. You said to me, should we not get playoffs and we narrowly miss out, we'll remember that game as 2 drop points. And I've said it very similarly, where if we go down and it's close, we'll remember that game. Not to also mention, we'll remember a 0-0 at Fleetwood or whatever, when we played Fleetwood, where we had a penalty and stunk the gaff up. And the 2 other times that we've had a penalty and stunk the gaff up, there's a video compilation on TikTok, I believe it is, of Newport's penalties so far this season. Terrible.
I saw that.
Really bad. Really bad.
I can't imagine.
Get Jordan Wright on them. He's good at saving them. I'd hope he'd at least put his foot through them, for God's sake.
I can't imagine ours is much better. I mean, Jace Caby's missed like 3. It's
the perfect opportunity, isn't it, for both sides to pick up a much needed 3 points for different reasons. Neither of them have done it. A draw was the fair result, but such a nothing game. And I'm sure you absolutely loved the 5-6 hour journey just to get there.
Great. It was great. Yeah. What time did I walk in?
At least you got into the barcode, which I think is a very decent place to be in before a game of football, to be fair.
Yeah, it was a decent place. People there were quite friendly. What time did I walk in? I got home at about 11:15. That was it.
Yeah,
spent an hour at Tamworth, which was
worth it for a 0-0, I'm sure.
That was the first away day I've done for a little bit as well. I've not done an away day for a few years.
The last away day I did was Crewe, and it was a 3-0 win. So I think I need to start going to more away games.
What was my last away game? My last away, it might have been Crewe. We lost 3-2. It was neither that or I think it might have been Crewe. Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff going. I'm going to Notts County at the end of the month. I was never going to miss that game, with it being my favourite.
I've been roped into Swindon away and also roped into Milton Keynes away. So,
how lovely.
God, how lucky I am. How lucky.
I mean, you've got the sausage roll at Swindon, whether they still do, and you've got the roundabouts of Milton Keynes in a 30,000-seater bowl.
In a 30,000-seater stadium. Both of them are going to be about 4-0 defeat. I cannot wait for... Listen, all right, if you don't see me at the end of this, just know that the football has won the battle against me, and I've given up on watching this sport. I'm going to watch cricket instead.
It's a good job it's not...
Because I can't watch Six Nations, because that's shocking in itself.
I was going to say, it's a good job it's not rugby.
Well, this is the thing. I quite like rugby myself, but it's not like rugby is overly giving me any pleasure either. So I just can't win with sports. Maybe I'll start watching a football club I don't like and see them capitulate, because that seems to be my luck.
What, Milton Keynes at the minute at times?
I'm going to start watching Milton Keynes. I'm going to start doing it. Okay. Watch their form fall and just know it was entirely because of me.
Yes. It's right. So if they have this complete collapse and they don't even make top 3, and even if they lose the playoffs, you know exactly who to blame. Keiron Jones, everybody. That might be a good place to leave it, I think, before...
Yeah, I think that's a good place to leave it, before I end up saying something that's going to get me a lot of backlash on Twitter. So let's just end it there.
Thank you for your support, as always. Let us know your comments. Please like and subscribe on YouTube. Download the podcast wherever you get it from. We'll be back. Well, I won't be back midweek because we're playing. So I don't know exactly who was... I don't know exactly who... who's doing it Wednesday yet, but it won't be me, which might be a bit of a relief for some of you. But we'll end it there. You've been listening to Keiron Jones. I've been Jordan Richards. It's been League 2 Lowdown, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.